Good evening, friends, and welcome to another episode of Tim Kirby Rush, where I, Tim Kirby, an American who has worked in the Russian media for 15 or however many years, tells you how Russia looks like, what the world looks like through a Russian lens. I always screw up my own introduction, and that's part of the fun here. So anyways, guys, it's a live stream happening Monday night. Our topic for today that I didn't announce in our group, which I probably should have, is Putin Trump? Or is Trump Putin? Are they the same man with the same destiny? And forgive my desktop sounds. I have a lot of windows open. So anyways, I just turned off all the desktop sounds. And the question is, will I remember to turn them back on if someone calls in? So anyways, guys, you know the rules. If you comment anywhere on Tim Kirby Russia Hardcore on Telegram where you're watching this, you will be able to have your questions viewed. Basically, they all go to the same place. That place is called the chat, and it's amazing, and it makes everything really easily. So comment under any post on Tim Kirby Rush Hardcore, and I see it. And if you're watching this on BitChute or Rumble later, because people do, come on over to Telegram so you can participate in these live streams if you want, because unfortunately, other platforms, especially after sanctions, don't work very good for live streaming. So anyways, and after that, after I do my spiel about what I think about Putin being Trump or Trump being Putin, we can actually take calls, which will be tons of fun. So anyways, guys, and taking calls uses the put your hand up feature on Telegram. So anyways, guys, let's actually get into it, because I hate really podcasty podcasts where they want to like warm up the audience for 15 minutes. No. So let's get into this. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. This friend is sometimes the inspiration for some of the things I talk about here, because he brings up some really kind of interesting ideas. I'm pretty good at generating ideas myself. I don't want to toot my own horn here, but he comes up with a lot of good stuff. I'd like to do a good impression of him, but it's hard because he's a very serious person, and it's kind of hard to do impressions of super serious people who, really speak kind of flatly. See, I can't. I naturally have worked in the media too long, and I can't speak in a very flat way. But anyways, the guy is really interesting, and he pointed out this. He was like, Tim, if you think about it, don't you think, as an American in Russia, don't you think that Trump is facing the same destiny as Putin? I was like, I kind of get what you're saying, but could you elaborate, sir? I should probably call him sir because he's very serious. He pretty much called, because in Russian there's like a friendly, sort of like familial way to talk to people, and then a way to kind of talk to people you don't know. And he sort of uses the I don't know you way of talking to people to everyone, so which is kind of interesting. That's his personal quirk there. Even me, I only think he's known me 20 years or whatever. But anyways. I kind of told him, I know basically what you're talking about, but could you maybe give me some details? Well, if you think about it, when Putin came in office, he was surrounded by minions of globalism. He was surrounded by a corrupt system. Think about it, man. And I was kind of like, And of course, because I can't do it in person to this guy, he didn't say, think about it, man. That's the way my subconscious mind works. He said something probably vastly more formal. Do so ponder what I have just relayed to you, sir. But anyways, I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. So let's take a look at this. So his first thing was that the similarities between Trump and Putin is that they both came into power in a very dire point in both countries' history. And, maybe in the United States, I know some of you guys who are living there might say otherwise. I don't think the situation in the United States is as dire as like Russia in the early 90s. Because remember, Russia in the early 90s had like a complete systemic collapse. As in the money in the Soviet Union, stopped being money. So the United States isn't in that bad of a situation. People in Russia can be shocked all they want by eggs being $22 in California, but still, the situation isn't that bad. But is the situation like good in the United States that Trump inherited, especially after the diabolical, disastrous Biden regime? Wow, what a joke presidency that was. That was your a dangerous cauldron of toxic soups of the whole, DEI, LGBT, all this other stuff, just massive wasteful money. And I mean, if you look, the one thing that I'm most happy with Trump doing is, the exposing of many things, including the whole, USAID, National Endowment for Democracy, corrupto machine. Much of which that corruption machine lived very well under previous presidencies, especially the most recent presidency. So, again, is the situation in America as bad as Russia in the 90s? No. But if there was more corrupto leadership, maybe another, 8 more years or whatever of what's been happening over the last few decades since the end of the Cold War, who knows? Maybe. Maybe they could sink the American ship completely. I don't know. But anyways, so I think it's on sort of like point number one. Is there the situation they entered into? Is it as dire as Russia? No. Is the situation in America kind of dire? Yes. So in Russia in the early 90s, well, what did you see? You saw that there was a population collapse and a lot of people lost their jobs, lost their meaning in life, and drank themselves to death. Well, I don't know if people are really drinking themselves to death in the United States, but there is that fentanyl crisis. You're seeing a lot of prescription drug abuse, a lot, and you're seeing a lot of homeless people. That's one thing where, again, okay, so the first Trump presidents, or second Trump presidency, and the first Putin presidency, there's something. Society is so, upset with itself, or disheartened, or feels betrayed, or feels utter sense of meaninglessness that it's destroying itself. It's kind of like that Megadeth song. We are the how does it go? We are the damned of all the world, with sadness in our eyes, the wounded of the wars, we've been hung out to dry. You didn't want us anyways, and now we're making up our minds. You tell us how to run our lives, we run for euthanasia. It's a song about, essentially, the young generation of, I guess, America or the West, maybe the world, choosing to, you can't say it on YouTube. My channel got restored on YouTube, by the way. Amazing. You can't say this on YouTube, but they're choosing to end things prematurely. Well, he does mention the word euthanasia in the song, so there you go. That's probably a bad word on YouTube too, but I give up. I'll be banned again soon. Well, who knows? Maybe in Trump's America I won't. Who knows? But that sort of cult of almost desire for society to die, that was both here and there. Trump and Putin both, Trump is still, and Putin certainly was, surrounded by an absolutely corrupt elite that has zero regard for, like, the nation state or the middle class of that country. The people who became those oligarchs that Putin had to deal with were all vile and were happy to serve any master that allowed them to be rich and wealthy. So maybe the term globalist doesn't apply to them, because the one thing is about the super ultra rich, like, corrupt people in Russia, is only a real few of them were ever really, like, globalists. Most of them, it's just about the yacht. They don't care where it came from. As long as they have the yacht and the millions, billions maybe of dollars, they're fine. So a little bit of a difference there. Whereas you can see in the West, there are people who are much more passionate about their globalism. And I see as people are joining, we're talking about, do Trump and Putin have the same destiny? Is Trump just repeating does he have to take notes from the playbook from Putin? My one friend told me this idea that essentially Trump is going to have to go through all the stuff that Putin went through, and he might be onto something. So we've already kind of talked a little bit about, and remember, if you have a question and you write anywhere on Tim Kirby Russia Hardcore, I will see that question or a comment or whatever, and then later you can use the raise your hand function to actually talk to me and call in. This is a call-in show. The 21st century is amazing. But anyway, so we talked about how the situation in America and Russia was both dire and needs to be changed. However, it was way more dire in Russia. The sort of mentality of the population is definitely, I think, kind of similar. Okay, and is Trump surrounded by a corrupt oligarchy? Yes. That's one of the reasons why he did the whole expose on USAID, is to take everything that we already knew. We all knew this, if you watch this channel, I'm sure you watch much better independent journalism-related channels. Your good old, like, The Gray Zone, or our friends Matt Arrett, or Joaquin Flores' work, or, gosh, who else? A whole ton of very intelligent independent journalists who've, here, we'll throw Alex Jones in the mix there. Why not? Alex Jones, we'll name drop him too. A whole bunch of people who have really exposed over the years all of the evil shenanigans that were wrapped up in the USAID package. But only Trump was the one who made it official. Because we, in internet land, can talk all we want about being sure that some conspiracy theory is true or whatever. But when it becomes official truth, that's when you can actually do something about it. So that's a big move. But anyways, a good move by Trump. So let's see, what else? Is this whole thesis of my friend that Trump is going to have to do everything that Putin did? I don't know. I'm thinking it's kind of true. So what is if we're going to predict then the future of America based on this? Well, one of the first things that Putin really did is he basically told one by one, which was the best way to do it, one by one, he kind of made it for the rich guys, the oligarchs, or the very highly wealthy. Basically, you have a choice. You have the choice to be really, really wealthy and really, really important, but completely stay out of the government and politics, or something bad is going to happen to you. That's generally how things were kind of dealt with during especially the early Putin period, to sort of reorganize the elite. And also you should remember that Putin said there's going to be, after the special military operation, he said this clearly multiple times, there's going to be a new elite in Russia based on the way that people acted during the special military operation. So we'll see what happens after that. Anyways, maybe I'll be given a golden throne. Then again, I wasn't a frontline correspondent, unlike some other people who, let's just say, have more friendlier agreements about what they can and can't do in the media. Maybe they'll get the golden throne. I'll get one made out of copper. I do like the way copper looks, and I'll be happy with that. I'll take the copper throne. But so anyways, will Trump crack down on the elite or make them have some sort of bargain where a lot of the wealthiest people in America have to stay completely out of politics? That's the one thing where I don't know. That's very possible to do in Russia. In Russia, it seems like there's some sort of unwritten social agreement where if you're really, really rich, go to the private sector and just stay in the private sector. Just go over there and smile and have a nice house, or have 15 nice houses, whatever. Stay over there. Stay out of the government. Whereas in the United States, after we look at all of the various different political action committees and lobbying mania, is it going to be so easy for Trump to do that? I don't know. But if he really wants to, I guess, make America great again, then it would help to follow that page of the Putin playbook and divide the money from politics as much as you can, because obviously it's impossible to completely divide them, because there's a lot of big industries that need help from the government. So completely dividing them is impossible. But I'll put it this way: making sure that the CEO of some company is not going to be running for public office. You know what I mean? So anyways, so we have that. Let's see. What are some other things that Putin did that were very successful? Well, he did slowly create a sort of military revolution, because one of the most sort of overly corrupt aspects of Russia in like the 90s and early 2000s was the military. And that's where his buddy Shoigu really shined. So he was able to find the right people, the right managers for the right jobs. And one of those was Shoigu, who first was the Minister of Emergency Services, which is like your ambulances and firemen and all that. And he really fixed that and became one of the more effective ministries of the Russian Federation. That's why he got the call to do the military. And when the war in Georgia happened in 2008, everything looked to be pretty good. And then things looked to be pretty good from that point on. As I talked to people in the military, they were very happy with the Shoigu reforms, and things went on and went on. And also, as we can see, after a lot of inclusion and a lot of using foreigners in the U.S. military, and a lot of fighting pointless wars, absolutely pointless wars, and wasting a lot of young men's lives and health, if they survived, that is. I think the U.S. military, maybe besides the Marines, I think the Marines are still solid to this day. They're pretty solid, but the rest of the military is definitely going to need an overhaul, which is one of the main things that Putin had to do. He had to overhaul the military because it was just sort of a toxic mess. And as Russians will tell you over and over and over again ad nauseum, the only true allies of Russia are its army and its navy. Or in the 21st century, its air force and space fleet, which will be developed later. So, yeah. So that was another interesting aspect of how Putin and Trump are kind of similar. So what other major reforms are there? Well, there are, as we can see, Trump fired a hell of a lot of people in the IRS. And another major thing that Putin did was the whole tax reforms. Putin made the Republican dream happen. Low taxes, but universal. So when he first came to power, everyone paid a 13% income tax, just everyone. And since then, it's kind of diversified a bit. But even the absolute top income bracket now, for people who make an amount of money that I will never make in my life, pay 22%. And that's it. And I'm talking phenomenal amounts of money because I'm pretty solidly middle class, and I am still way far away from being upped to the next income bracket. So another important thing would be for Trump to completely redo taxation in a lot of the ways that Putin did. Just almost blank slate it and go back to square one. Because we all know that the part of the problem in Washington is, or I should say, Washington, but systemically, is this insane taxation system, where it's like, well, the school uses money ineffectively. Now it has to levy locals for money. Oh, a lot of the locals don't have kids. Well, then all those locals are not going to vote for the levy, so then the kids don't get new books in school. Like this stuff, like goofy distribution systems, very high, especially local taxes, and the effectiveness of local governments is always in question. There's a lot that I think Trump could do on that end, and especially Republicans like low taxes. And if only Republicans knew how much Putin also likes low taxes, he could be he could be elected after Trump if they knew how much he likes low taxes here. In fact, when Larry Johnson and Judge Napolitano were visiting Russia, one thing they remarked is they sort of looked at Russia and they were like, you know what? This is what a country looks like when they spend all of their money on themselves. First off, Russia has had a lot of its money and resources sucked out during the 90s. Russia is what a country looks like when for the last 10-ish, 15-ish years, a country spends money on itself. Imagine what Russia would look like today if there was no Russian Revolution, World War II, the collapse of the Soviet Union. Things would be really, really Jim Dandy here. So, yeah. Let's see. What else would be... Oh, well, here's something that I do think that a lot... Well, this isn't an original idea. I'm sure you've heard this elsewhere. I don't like to pretend like I'm Mr. Original when my ideas might not be original, is that we can see that Trump chose J.D. Vance as his vice president. J.D. Vance has also had a lot of not nice things to say about Trump, but why'd he pick him? Tall, former military, former American football player, my brother on the offensive line. But not just that, because he's also, 40-some years old? Or he's way under 60. So Vance is like the future. So in America, I think culturally, the idea of having a sort of emperor type of figure is kind of a no-no. I don't think that the way that Russia... I'll put it this way. Look at the former Soviet Union. Which countries have the most pleasant sort of lifestyles in them, which are the most the nicest places to live? Belarus, Russia, Kazakhstan. Why? And look at their history of having the same leader over and over and over and over again. That's part of living in Eurasia. We have to have long-term emperors that sit on thrones for at least one generation. That's the way society works here. You can fight it or, put it this way, love it or leave it. Whereas I'm not so sure for America, but the one thing Trump can do is he has already picked a successor. He has picked a very strong successor. I try to explain to Russians that, like in the past, if you guys remember when it was, I believe, George Bush Sr. was president, he had this vice president named Dan Quayle, and he really had nothing to say, and all he had was a nice haircut, and everyone would just make fun of him because they could kind of tell that he was just there as window dressing. Vance is not Dan Quayle. He is, and that's one of the reasons why you see that sometimes Trump does stuff with him. Because, again, if you go back to some of the previous presidents of the United States, obviously, like when Obama was in office as president, he and Joe Biden would do stuff together. There are plenty of pictures where they're in the same room, doing stuff. But it seems this time Trump even more so is, again, doing maybe the more culturally American equivalent of being like, look, this guy's going to carry on all my policies for at least 8 years. And maybe he's going to pick the next guy. So Trump is almost like doing a whole, I'm going to do an entire generation of MAGA. And at least 12 years of straight frickin' MAGA. Right down your throat, punks. So in some ways, that's a very, Americanized version of a Eurasian strategy towards leadership. So that's another kind of way where maybe Trump is going down the pathway of Putin. There should be like a video game of that, the pathway of Putin. Oh, that'd be so much fun. I'd love that. Let's try to see. I don't know, guys, if you want to write in, there's a lot of people watching today. I'm always stunned that people actually watch the show. You should comment, because I can see all of your comments, and it's amazing. Someone is insulting Kevin. Don't do that. Kevin is nice. I like Kevin. Write something else. But anyways, you can do that, or call in soon. Let's see, what else does Putin sort of have in common with Trump? Well, one thing that Putin hasn't achieved, or we'll see what will happen after the war ends, is Putin has not ended the Fed. The private or semi-private, weirdly structured central bank of Russia is still in operation. Apparently, some people always debate whether the chairman or chairwoman of that bank, Elvira Nabiullina, is like Putin's woman within this evil cartel of bankers, or whether she's one of them or whatever. But people in Russia are overall not super happy with their performance. You've probably heard me mention a man named Konstantin Malafeyev, the Russian businessman who's also a big-time news and media player. He's sort of like, I don't know, Rupert Murdoch for Russia. His main news agency, they have a very negative opinion, a very, very negative opinion of the Russian central bank. So it's not like in Russia, it's like the entire official press sort of ignores this elephant in the room, that we have this goofy federal private bank that sort of like prints money by creating debt and all this other stuff. In Russia, that's like there's no, there's the, well, in America, I'll put it this way, the man behind the curtain, it's become a very thin curtain, but the mainstream media is holding on to that curtain. In Russia, it's not even there. Everyone hates the central bank. Like, if you look at the most prominent economists that go on all the TV shows in Russia, or host radio shows on various different radio stations, they all hate it. So eventually, usually in Russia, if the population complains enough, loud enough, and there's certain key figures within it, if they kind of annoy the leadership enough, they can achieve great things through this annoyance and complaining. So who knows? Maybe the private central bank will change, but again, that's another thing that Trump might have to deal with. Then a thing that Putin has not successfully dealt with yet, or maybe he has, because again, it all depends on what your theory about this or Ms., I believe she's unmarried, Nabiullina. Is she acting on Putin's behalf within an evil organization, or is she part of the evil organization? In fact, one thing that kind of blew my mind is I just did an interview with someone who's worked directly with German Gref. So in Russian, the letter H, when we say in English, becomes G in Russian. So it'd be more like Hermann Gref, but German Gref is the way you say it in Russian. And anyways, that guy's like the leader of Sparebank, and he has been labeled as a massive, supermassive globalist. Proof that Putin is a complete and total fake. Putin is a fraud because German Gref has control of the biggest bank in Russia, and he's a total globalist. So I've heard that many times, and it was interesting to like do an interview with someone who knows him, and he was like, German Gref is the Elon Musk of Russia. I was like, dude, what are you talking about? He's like, he's a visionary. He sees everything. I'm like, well, what about all these rumors that he's part of this like globalist agenda? He's like, that's all BS. Gref loves Russia. He loves this place. So who knows? You never know. That kind of blew my mind because online, Mr. Gref is universally like, I don't know what you'd want to call it. Well, he didn't have anything to say about COVID per se, but he's kind of like a Dr. Fauci kind of persona, I don't know, online. And I talked to this guy, and he's like, he's behind the scenes, the number one patriot. He's making the future of Russia for Russia. I'm like, okay. So there you go. Very, very weird, very, very interesting. It's always nice to hear some opinions that, like, change your mind. Because apparently German Gref, I should say it. If I'm going to say it the Russian way, I'll say it the Russian way. Invested some crazy amount of money into many, many huge business projects within Russia when he really didn't have to. So, yeah. But anyways, the whole end the Fed thing in Russia, who knows, in America, that process hasn't even started. So, anyways, guys, I think I've kind of run out of spiel. If you guys want to use the raise your hand function and talk to me, because I think I've kind of covered everything I wanted to say about how Putin and Putin's path of going from this collapsed, destroyed, deindustrialized. Oh, that's another thing I didn't talk about. The deindustrialization. That is a huge thing that, trust me, Russians were very angry about and very ashamed of, was how so much of the country was deindustrialized after the fall of the Soviet Union. And wow, has the West become completely deindustrialized? Maybe not completely, but a lot of it. And Trump is trying to reverse that, as did Mr. Putin. So there are a lot of factories being built in Russia, and a lot of reindustrialization has happened. Just for example, the Moskvich car factory, which collapsed after the Soviet Union a few years later, then was forced to make these humiliating, terrible French cars. French cars are just vomit. And now it's a Russian-Chinese joint venture, and Russia gets to keep a lot of the capital itself. Yay! Money stays in the country. So not just that, but there's all sorts of factories and all that being built all over the country. And if Trump really does want to make America great again, America can't be great serving coffee as the capital city of a global empire. It has to produce stuff again. And so I know it might suck in the near future when everything is going to have tariffs on it, like everything. I know many of you have not gotten raises since You probably haven't gotten raises since a certain terrorist event that involved two towers. It seems like that particular event was the death of the American salary, but I know that kind of sucks, but I don't know. Unlike me, maybe you might want to have some patience with Trump's tariffs. You'll have to tolerate them for 5 to 10 years, but their effects could become really big, because I am literally living in a country that was completely and totally deindustrialized and has now become an industrial power greater than Europe within one generation. So anything's possible if you just kind of go with it. Oh, wait, here we go. We got some comments. We've got some comments. We have Mark with a C. That is is that the good spelling of Mark or the evil spelling? Mark with a C. Hi, Tim. Mark from Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. Has the government finalized the proposal for the one-step process to apply for a Russian SIM card? No. The Russian SIM card process is brutal. It requires you having like registration and having a Gosuslugi account. What is Gosuslugi? It is the national government bureaucracy website where you can do pretty much all the government bureaucracy you need to do. So it is a massive pain in the butt, and it is very difficult. So good luck, and hope your auto-translator is auto-translating well. Unfortunately, Mark, I wish I had better news. Let's see, Mark continues. The Ministry of Digital Development has proposed to organize the possibility for foreigners to obtain a SNILS, that is your social security number, create an account on Gosuslugi, register biometrics, and issue a SIM card in one visit to the service center. Oh, maybe that's happening, but it has not happened officially yet. The discussion, well, you just sent me this message. The discussion of the corresponding draft document will last until March 21st. Well, that was just a little while ago, my friend. Laws are a slow process. So anyways, I wouldn't expect that to be happening soon. If you come to Russia, you're just going to have to bite the bullet and do the annoying song and dance to be able to buy a SIM card. It sucks, but that's the way it is. However, if you want to just have home internet, that requires no bureaucracy. You just call the company and they put it in. So home internet is easy. Getting a telephone number SIM card is now very, very difficult. Who knows? Maybe it will become easier. Again, remember with Russia, like I just mentioned, it's a lot about the public complaining, and I have a strong feeling a lot of people in the public have been complaining about this. So keep the complaint machine going. I was told also by some sort of insider people that the future of sort of Russian politics is a sort of symbiotic demand cycle where the populace demands from the government and the government demands from us, the populace. So everyone's demanding from each other, and that's going to be like the yin and yang of the Russian future. Who knows, but it seems to work, at least from this part of the yin and yang, where people complain. And they complain loud, and they complain hard, and they complain often. And, you know, stuff like this gets fixed. So thank you, Mark. That was a very interesting one. But unfortunately, if you're going to be visiting Russia in the near future, you are going to need to do a whole big song and dance to get a phone number. But if you're just visiting, maybe you don't even need it. I don't know. If you're going to be living here, you do. So, yes. Also, one thing, Mark, since we're on the topic, maybe some of you guys remember, the whole American village. Well, one of the families, well, both families, their homes got built. I showed the government, hey, these homes got built. How about you put them on your magical map? The magical map that shows where all real estate in Russia is. And the government was like, cool, we'll do that. And the homes got put on the magical map. And so after that, the people, the American villagers, I read, went through the process on the Gosuslugi website to register them at their homes, and it took 2 weeks to process. 2 weeks to process. It said on the site the average time for processing is 24 hours, not 2 weeks. So, Mark, if you're visiting Russia, your registration might take a while. Oh, boy, that's depressing. Bogdan wants to talk. We've had Bogdan on the program. Oh, Bogdan, how is life in beautiful, sunny Romania?
It's good. It's good.
All right.
I'm not in Romania.
Oh, wait, I don't have your... Hold on, I have to turn up your... Oh, you're not in Romania, so I thought you were. Okay, now I have your volume is up. Okay. So anyways, what's your question?
Yeah, my question was there are also these SIM cards which are not prepaid. Can you have a prepaid SIM card or something like that?
What do you mean
Not
by...
a permanent, like make a
What do you mean by
subscription.
prepaid? You can, if your phone has like international roaming on it, you can take a phone from any other country and use it here.
Okay.
Prepaid, as in you don't have to sign up for like a monthly service. Yeah, they have stuff like that,
Mhm.
but you still have to go through all the song and dance to get it.
So literally, you cannot have actually a Russian SIM card, a Russian number, if I'm visiting for instance, Russia for a month or for a few weeks.
You can if you're willing to sit down and do a whole bunch of BS.
Right, right.
That's the thing. Also, most people in Russia, the way Russia works is most people just get a phone number and then they just stop using it and stop paying for it, and it gets thrown away after 6 months automatically.
Yeah,
That's generally how
sounds
things are
okay.
done here. So it's not like whereas in like the United States, you'll have like a 2-year contract and you have to fulfill it. Whereas in Russia, it's just kind of like you don't pay and they don't provide service. And then 6 months passes
Yeah.
and the number gets thrown back into the pool of
Yeah,
numbers to draw from.
I think it's the same thing in Europe. If
Pardon?
you, it's the same thing in Europe,
Oh, in Europe.
actually.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but it's not with the subscription. It's actually with the prepaid cards.
Oh,
So you need to have an ID or something like that, passport. They're giving you a prepaid card, okay,
yeah.
and that is no problem. So you can use it, but you need to fulfill or to put money on it, something like every 6 months
Yeah.
max.
Okay. Well then.
Otherwise, you are losing your number.
All right. Well then, yeah, Bogdan. I guess let me mute you there. I guess that's yeah the maybe the some of the ideas came from Europe on that one. I don't know, but I can tell you when I first moved to Russia, foreigners couldn't have telephone numbers. Flat. If you didn't have residency, you couldn't have a number at all. uh, so things got way better, and then Crocus City Hall happened. The Crocus City Hall, unfortunately, that terror incident kind of changed the game. It allowed a lot of changes to society happen that the public wanted, and there you go, things that people have been asking for a long time. So, and one of them was more control over who has phone numbers and what are they doing and this, that, and the other. So, yes, yes, yes. Okay. Oh, we also have another question from MS. Let's see. Tim, any insights into the Yemen U.S. happenings at present? Oh boy, well, MS again. This is Tim Kirby Russia, not Tim Kirby Middle East. I don't know, but I would say one thing that might be interesting for you is if you remember, one time Trump launched 72 missiles at Syria, Assad's Syria. Did they hit anything? Well, apparently most of them got shot down by Russian air defense. But he launched them. He showed that he was he was willing to play ball, that he could be part of Warmonger Club. And then after that, he did nothing. And with this like supposed attack on Yemen, I think Trump knows that it did nothing. Absolutely freaking nothing. For the same reason. I think it's some kind of weird like showmanship and playing ball. Because you also have to remember that Trump will say stuff where he'll come out and be like, during his first presidency, if the North Koreans don't do what I say and come to peaceful terms, I will show them fire, brimstone, and hell like they have never seen before. Then he goes to Pyongyang. It's like, oh, hey, Kim Jong Un, how you doing? Let's make an agreement. So he's like, he goes to the public, or especially when he's speaking to his own audience, I will burn these foreigners to the ground. And he just goes and works out a deal with them without this. So I think one of the things is you have to remember is Trump is very theatrical, and I think a lot of his theatrics are oriented towards the military-industrial complex. Well, something that I wanted to mention on this channel, which I might do like an individual video about, but it'll probably get blocked by YouTube and maybe get me rebanned, is remember Trump is very supportive of Biebs, Mr. Netanyahu. We call him Biebs here. He's our good bald murderous buddy, and Trump is his buddy as well. And Trump is very supportive of this, and a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh," or at least verbally, and everyone says, "Oh my gosh, this is such a betrayal. He's betraying his principles, this, that, and the other." How much has he actually done for them? Has he actually sent any, U.S. forces to deal with their problems? No. I guess he sent some resources. Okay. Whatever. But then he also uncovers reveals the secret documents related to the JFK trial, which, there have been a lot of conspiracies about the whole JFK thing, but it was never the type of person that Biebs is. And apparently now it would seem that it was a combination of the Secret Service, the type of person that Biebs is, and somewhat the mafia all working together. So on the one hand, he certainly wants to support Biebs and his friends, but on the other hand, he just revealed they killed Kennedy. Because Kennedy didn't want them to have nuclear weapons. So, there you go. You know, with Trump, you have to say there's when Trump is being really bellicose and really bold and like murderous, you kind of Trump is a lot like let's just say it. He's a lot like a Russian woman. He's very very loud and bellicose, but then his actions completely don't match any of his words. They are not connected whatsoever. You know, there's a complete hysterical nuclear meltdown. What is done about this nuclear hysterical meltdown? Pretty much nothing. And everything goes back to normal as is. So I think one thing people should do is be a little bit more in pro wrestling mode when you listen to Trump speak, and pay more attention to the weird stuff he does, like telling the world that JFK was probably at least partially or mostly killed because of people like Beebs and his friends, because Kennedy wouldn't give them nuclear missiles. And remember, when something becomes official truth, that's something you can actually, you can do something about it. There you go. There you go. So, remember, Trump is also the man who shot 72 missiles, and some of them hit sand in Syria, called it a successful mission, and proof that he's hard on some thing, and then just completely ignored it and never went back to Syria. And then later was like, we have a lot of U.S. troops stuck there. They could really be stuck there in a crisis. Let's try to get them out. And then people around him wouldn't let them get gotten out. Stuff to think about. Let's see. Do we have any more questions? Or are we done for the night? Or do we have any calls? No, I guess we don't. Anyways, guys, I think this live stream went pretty well. And it's my verdict. I don't want to bet my life on this or even $10,000, but I would bet $100 right now that I do think that maybe Trump, who knows, maybe more than $100. I'll bet $1,000 that I think that Trump is on this sort of same kind of path that Putin found himself. And of course, American and Russian culture are different, but they're kind of more similar than a lot of other foreign cultures are to America. So maybe Trump might want to have an open, honest look at modern Russian history and see what worked and what didn't, and see where Russia and America are more similar and where they're more different. Because maybe there's something to learn if he really does want to, make America great again. And anyways, guys, on that note, I'm going to go to sleep because I can't sleep, and I don't know why. Probably because I had a lovely practice playing American football. I had to play center today. I normally don't play center, which is very unusual for me. So anyways, guys, I'm going to hit the road. Thank you very much for being with me. And we're already here for 45 minutes. Wow, holy crap. Anyways, guys, thank you very much. Tim Kirby Russia, signing out.